Welcome back to the Genus Brewing channel. We've got something really fun based on the last video that we did, just posted pretty recently, somewhere over, it's a video. He's gonna talk about that. I'm gonna go sporg a bigger batch.
Yeah! Welcome back to the Genus Brewing channel.
This is my sack.
And I'm about to squeeze it.
We posted a video recently of us with a new mill, kind of grain crusher. Incinerator of grains.
Flour mill is really what that is.
Yeah, it's from an agricultural company, and they sent it to us saying, yeah, it could probably work for brewing. We have personally heard of breweries that actually make powder like this and turn it into beer. So we're gonna give it a go and see if that's possible on the home scale, or if that mill was a dud and is unusable for people at home.
So right now we've got about 6 gallons of water in our Brewer's Edge mash and boil, and we've got our mash, what's it called? Mash something?
Malt pipe thing?
Malt pipe, yeah, there you go, malt pipe. And so what I've done is to mitigate the sheer amount of, like, this is gonna turn into a brick on us.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super dense. So I've lined this with another bag, so I'm hoping to kind of keep some of that schmutz out of the kettle itself. So we're gonna go ahead and mash this in and give it a try. Mashing in right at 150, should be right in the middle of the spectrum. Actually, technically for all you out there, it is 152 degrees is ideal temperature. But that's for another video. You got your alpha and your beta, and they're like Xing each other. Hit it, Peter.
We should weigh this first, find out how much is in it. This is about 8.5, a little over 8.5 pounds of grain, which normally would, 5-gallon batch yield us, I don't know, a 4.5% beer at most. Really good efficiency would be towards that 4.5, maybe just barely above. But we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, get all up in that. Steve. Today, son.
And now for my spoon. Oh yeah, look at those glutens gumming up so easily. So major dough balls, obviously.
You got dough balls in your sack?
Got dough balls in my sack. My sack is full of balls of dough.
All right, we get a slightly new strategy for dealing with our balls.
I'm using this sifter to spread out the balls as much as possible, maximizing the ball area and reducing some of the non-important parts of the balls.
Didn't know there was a non-important part. So you know how we said that this was going to turn into a brick? Well, we were right.
Someone didn't want to use rice holes or anything.
So right now it's literally not draining. It's just sitting there.
Honestly, it would have been smart of us to do a beta-glucanase rest. If we had done that, we could have gotten rid of a lot of the things that make it gummy.
Gummy gums! Yeah, so gumming up right now like crazy.
We're just going to try to squeeze this down into the...
Squeeze this down. Should we let it sit a little longer, though?
No, just squeeze it down to the malt pipe.
Squeeze it into the malt pipe. We're going to squeeze it up. 'Cause you're sweet like a great Jolly Rancher. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that suction?
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're going to squeeze the bejeebs out of this. We're going to squeeze it so good.
So that looks like it's done. All it took was pulling up the grain bag, and it equalized down in the malt pipe. And so I imagine we'll just kind of have to do that a couple times during the mash to make sure everything's running through. And then like we said before, when we get into the actual sparging-ish kind of portion of it, I don't know if we're going to sparge, if we're just doing all a no sparge, but then we're going to literally squeeze what we can out of this grain bag. I don't think anything's getting stuck on the malt pipe itself. It's just the proteins that are stuck up in this grain bag. If you can hear that dropping.
Oh yeah. Dropping like it's hot.
So something's happening. Is there a hole in this bag? There is a hole in this bag. Way to pick a bag with a hole in it.
What? There's a hole in that bag. No wonder it looks like we lost volume.
This just got a little bit more complicated.
Definitely a few grain bits.
Oh yeah. Ah! And we're scooping. What starts with an F and ends with a UCK?
Fire truck!
So yeah, pretty typical brew day so far. Just going through the normal motions as you would brewing.
Whoop.
So after a completely normal start to our brew day, we have done a long-ish mash.
Like 3 hours.
3 hours, including bringing it up to a mash out temperature of 170-ish degrees right now. And surprisingly enough, it looks like we have what's going to be...
some conversion.
Yeah. It's going to turn into wort. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out, bring it up to a boil, and finish out the brew day just like normal, I guess. When we get to the squeezing the bag part, which I believe is something we're gonna have to do, we'll let you know. We'll show you that too.
Did I do a good job holding onto your sack?
You know, I've had better. Draining a lot faster than yeah. Well, and like even faster than a normal brew day. Like I've used this thing a lot, and it takes a long time to drain. This is like rushing out.
Well, that sounds like a good sign. Sounds like we got conversion then.
Hell no, H2O.
Oh jeez. Oh god. We're gonna die. Are you having fun playing with your sack?
I'm trying to come up with the best squeeze method.
Are you gonna be gentle or rough?
Right now, I'm taking it kind of softly, being a little gentle with it. You know, you don't want to scare it off, but who knows? I'm gonna get a little more aggressive down the road.
Are you gonna be a brewer just like your dad? Oh, the truth hurts.
No.
Straight up, no.
Is it bad to squeeze the bag? Myth.
Bad to squeeze the bag. We're gonna squeeze this bag.
Really, really put it to the test.
We're gonna really squeeze this sack.
This is the excessive, like.
Oh yeah, totally.
Whoop.
I told you were gonna try to kill me.
Oh yeah, stop ruining that beer.
Why are you ruining the beer?
We're brewing a beer in the back at the same time, so that one's our big batch. Doing a blueberry cream ale. Let us know if you guys want to see more about that. All right, so I've got a brick of gunk now. I'll wait until Logan gets back here. We can get a better shot of this. And we're back to another part of this. You can probably not tell at all that we've been working all day because we probably look as fresh and lively as when we started this video. But we're to a different stage. Let me show you what's been going on so far.
We got wort.
We made a brick.
We got boilies.
So I squeezed everything possible out of that amount of whatever, and it got to the point where there's no liquid. It's not dripping out at all. There's no
really dense.
No liquid dripping. It's really dense. Surprisingly enough, it clarified, but we are noticing now that we're at boil, and we've added a 1.5 ounce hop addition so far. It does seem like our hop spider has kind of got a lot of protein plugged into it. I did a couple of recirculations through the hop spider just to see what was in there, and it's
breaking though. It's breaking out.
It's definitely breaking out. So we'll get something off, but we just don't know what yet. Trying to get a gravity sample.
There's a little protein break in there, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see how much it actually takes to get a gravity sample in the first place. This is just for that. Just the first little bit. Good thing that's enough. That's way more than enough. Stop wasting all our good beer.
Wasting all of our good beer. So Peter, we got a little under volume, didn't we?
Oh yeah. Part of that was because we got busy and we boiled for like 4 hours. A little bit of extra bits. And that's not including what's in the hop cone thing that we recirculated through in the hop spider. But let's find out what our ABV is, or what our OG is.
How's the parents?
If this isn't like even like 1050, it's gonna be very disappointing. 1050.
I think that'd be pretty bad.
1052, I want to say. We're looking at 4.5 right there in the fermenter. So maybe final amount of beer, maybe 4 gallons total. Still is only 8.5 pounds of grain. So let's say 4.25 gallons at 8.5 pounds of grain. That's equivalent to about 11 gallons, 11 pounds of grain for a 5-gallon batch. That's kind of actually right in line with what you would expect if you're doing an all grain batch normally. Yeah, a little bit more work, obviously, but there's probably ways to do it better than we did it. Beta glucanase rest, 120-ish in that range. That's got to be the one thing that we would change. It like I would absolutely change that if I had to do this again. It tastes like normal wort to me.
Just like wort.
It's gonna be beer.
Gonna be beer, folks. It's been 3 weeks now. The beer fermented out, typically, right? Typical fermentation, actually a really fast fermentation. Fermented out within 4 or 5 days. Cleared up by like day 6.
Yeah, it was dropped super bright. You can even see it through the opaque fermenter that we use, the Genus fermenter. Yeah. You can see how clear it was inside.
And then Peter sucked up True, put it in a keg, and then shook the keg up before he poured these
Sometimes
glasses.
You just gotta suck. Sometimes it's an accident is what I said. So let's give you a quick rundown of the recipe. It is 8-ish pounds of flour made from 2-row barley, 2 1.5-ounce additions of Golding's hops, and then pitched the rustic yeast. The mashing was pretty straightforward. We mashed at a standard 150-ish, and Then we did a no sparge, but instead of sparging, we just squeezed the hell out of that grain bag. There's two things that we kind of played around with in terms of why this was an important beer for us to brew. Two tannin myths, I would call them, and maybe confirmedly so by now. But number one, overcrushing your grain, is that a thing that's going to, because you're pulverizing all those husks into there, is that going to give you tannin? Number two, we squeezed the tits out of this grain bag.
We squeezed those mammary glands dry.
We squeezed
squirting all over the place.
We squeezed the grain bag. We squeezed the grain bag. Real hard. Extreme bag squeeze.
Squeezing the sack, total myth, we've covered already.
Yeah.
That does not extract tannins, but the biggest one that I think this video really covered was we have a lot of customers, a lot of homebrewers around the area that are super paranoid about how they crush their grains, literally like running mills as slow as possible because they're worried that they're going to tear the husk too much. And this thing made flour. Like
literal flour.
I think it tore the husk a little bit. Yeah. It tore the husk a little bit, and yet tasting this beer right now, it's perfectly fine.
This is a great beer, actually. It's turned out a phenomenal beer.
Yeah.
There's not too much behind it. I think it's just a sessionable,
Yeah.
slightly peppery, slightly lemony, a little bit of that clove phenol.
Though it does have a little bit of that just classic noble-esque character, but yeah, like you said, simple beer, but not anything off at all. Overall impressions on the technique, I'm gonna stick with the Monster Mill.
I would stick with the normal. I mean, this is, okay, so fun to play with. So final takeaway from that mill, if you haven't already watched that video, it's this one. Woo! Final takeaway from that, it's you've got some fun ideas. You can play with it. I would like to play with this and try to see if I can really maximize efficiency with a sparge and a squeeze of the bag.
Yeah. I think if we were to use this mill again, we would have to completely redesign a mashing technique that would optimize what you're getting out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
not the best for the standard home brewer, but definitely functional.
yeah. If you already happen to have a mill similar to this that maybe you're using for a homemade bread or anything else, then you can totally make beer with it.
Absolutely.
So, until next time on Genus Brewing, grab a pint of Saison.
Saison. Bon saison.
And consume. Mate. You some Saison.
Consummate. No, I mean, yeah, I like consume. Consume Saison. Don't consummate with Saison. That'd be a little bit Jason Biggsy weird.
Well, if you consume some Saison, you may consummate with the help of Saison.
Yeah,
so.
exactly, but not with apple pie.
Goodbye, folks. Woo! Viva la beer!
Viva la beer! Make it a thing.
Squeezed it. We didn't squeeze the tits. We squeezed the semen out of that grain bag.
The ball, and then there's that little tube that attaches it to the seminal vesicle. That's not going in the video.
All right, now we just got too far.
That was the line.
It's been how long has it been anyway?
It's been so long since I hadn't seen you. It's been 3 weeks. Just under 3 weeks. It's been like 2.5 weeks.
It's been 6 weeks since you looked at me.
7 weeks since you did a pee.
Damn. That got weird.